and not understand that that's from your preconceived notion.
It's not. I'm actually getting that from the Quran. Can you find? And, okay, so this is my challenge to
No,
you,
you
bro.
didn't. Can you
Okay,
answer?
hold on, wait. Yes, I'm answering you.
Okay.
My challenge to you is, this is what I asked you. It's not a preconceived notion. I'm actually getting this from your Quran. I'm not a Muslim. I'm just reading the text. Can you find me one verse in the Quran where ahad is being used in place of wahid? I just wanted to say something really quick. If this verse isn't speaking about God specifically, Muhammad, then who's this verse speaking about?
What are you talking about, Amen Podcast?
He's saying that he doesn't understand the plural, and that I'm trying to understand what his argument exactly is.
There's no argument. I'm just listening to him.
He wasn't making an argument here.
Yeah, I'm just listening to him.
Understanding the verse.
Okay, so in this verse, when it's talking about the plural, like even if you go to verse 1, like Elohim, like that's a plural. And
No,
then we get
that's
the verse.
that's plurality of majesty. No, isn't that what you were saying, Godluck?
It can't be a plurality of majesty.
But that's not what your friend here was saying.
Okay, Muhammad, just wait a second.
Okay.
So the reason why it can't specifically be the plurality of majesty is what you're saying is because that would include other people creating with God, correct?
So are there other people creating with God?
Like, for instance, if you're talking about the plurality of majesty, you're talking about like angels, right?
I honestly don't know. I honestly I do not have any expertise. That's why I was saying I'm just listening.
Okay. So when people say
what is go ahead, Amen.
So like when people say that it's the royal we and things like that, even in Islam, when you guys are, or I'm not sure if you're a Muslim or not, but okay. So even in Islam, when you have Allah and he uses, we do not do this.
Okay.
Who is he speaking of when he says we? And he's invoking the what's it called? The plural of majesty or whatever.
Okay. It'd be himself.
And who else?
Himself.
So he uses we to describe himself?
Sure.
Okay, well then it can't be a plural of majesty, because a plural of majesty invokes others with God. So if it's not just God, then it would be the angels too, correct?
I don't know. I do not know.
Okay, so then it's beginning to get a little weird now, because if you're quoting Nas Qurani Surah Al-Ikhlas, and you're saying Qul huwa Allahu ahad, right? And you're saying, well, Allah is one, then how can it be the plural of majesty and he's talking to himself if Allah is only one, the way that you describe it? I also wanted to ask you about ahad as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. So if Allah is invoking the plural of majesty and you're telling me that it's only Allah and nobody else, then how can he be plural and one at the same time in your theology?
Again, I'm not sure I even understand what the point you're trying to make.
Right, it's confusing, right?
Sure,
right.
I'd have to look all that stuff up, make sure
right.
I understand what plural of majesty is.
This is the point that I'm making. It's confusing the way you're describing it because you're not being honest.
I didn't describe anything.
If you're okay, so when you're saying that Allah invokes the plural of majesty, it can't just be Allah. Who else is creating with Allah?
Okay, and I'm saying this just out of a thought. Can't you say things like us but mean you? And because that's what I understood in plural of majesty is that you're saying
in the plural of majesty, when the queen or the king was to say we did this, it was the king and the family, or the queen and the family that agreed with her. So in all terms, the plural of majesty meant more than one person, even from the beginning of the plural of majesty, which would have, I think, was around the 13th century that term started getting introduced.
All right, I didn't know that.
That's way after the Quran was written to begin with, but
right. So the reason why I even bring this up, though, bro, is because if you're saying that, okay, and Genesis is talking about a plural of majesty, you're looking at it from an Islamic point of view that God is creating with angels or something like that.
Okay, wait,
But in
just
Genesis,
real quick. You said you're looking at it with an Islamic perspective. I wasn't looking with any perspective. I wasn't even sure what plurality of majesty meant until one-way apologetics explained it to me.
right? So you've been preconceiving notions this whole time. Even when we took you to Genesis 3, and it says the two
Genesis
became one
3?
flesh.
Genesis 2.
Echad. The two. I'm
Genesis.
sorry. Yeah, where it said the two became one flesh. Genesis
Yes.
2:24, I believe. Yeah,
Okay.
Echad, right? Or even when we went to Deuteronomy 6:4 and we were talking about Echad, and you were saying it doesn't mean that. You know, it means something else. So
No,
you
okay,
were
so what I
bringing.
was saying is that it means one.
Okay, yeah. So again, you were bringing preconceived notions. What I'm saying is your
How? Can you
preconceived
explain that?
Yes, your preconceived notions come from your Islamic theology, because you're saying that God can. Because you even quoted it, "Kul huwallahu ahad," right?
I didn't
You're
quote
saying
anything.
you didn't bring that up earlier.
I did not. I never said that.
You brought up how Echad is similar to Ahad in the Quran.
Ahad, yes, as an Arabic word, not as I wasn't quoting it as.
Right.
But real quick, just to say something, I don't understand how you can say that I'm coming with preconceived notion when I'm just saying that when you read one, it means one.
The reason why I'm saying, and again, I want to get back to Genesis. So the reason why is because you quoting that verse helped, and then you even said you're a Muslim as well. So you quoting that verse lets us know that the way you think of one is the way that the Quran thinks of one.
Sure,
And
because
what
it means
we're
one. I think this is like not. I don't
okay,
think this is
okay. Muhammad, just wait a second, man. Just
okay.
relax. Just relax.
I'm relaxing.
So,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, okay, no problem. So you're taking that and you're imposing it onto the Bible, because when it uses the word echad, and Avery explained it beautifully, it doesn't mean the same thing that it doesn't mean the same thing in terms of theology that the Quran describes it. When Deuteronomy 6:4, when it's describing echad, it's using it the same way that you see it in Genesis 2:24. It uses it the same way that you see it in Genesis 11. It uses it the same way that you see it in Judges 20, verse 8. It means it's a compound unity.
Okay.
So hold on, wait, just 1 second. I'm almost done. I'm
I'm
about
just
to
saying.
land.
Okay.
So when we go to Genesis and you say, oh, this is a plural of majesty and God can only be one, you're looking at it the way that the Quran describes it. What I'm trying to explain to you is the only one that can create, when it says God said, let us make man in our image in verse 26, it can only be God that creates. There's no angels listed. Angels don't share in that glory with God. And then even in verse 27, I believe, it says, and God created, I don't see it in front of me. I can't pull
It
it up right
says
now.
God created a man.
Okay. Can I? Because if you speak a lot,
Right.
I will lose
Yeah,
track of.
I know. I promise you, like 2 more seconds. So
Okay.
the point I'm trying to make here is Genesis 1:26 and 27 specifically describes God being triune or multi-personal in nature, but being one, because verse 27 says, and God created. There's no plural of majesty there. It doesn't say that angels or anybody else created. Do you understand what I'm
Okay,
saying
yeah,
there?
I get it. But I just want to come back to the things you were saying earlier. You said, and that's why I came here, and that's why I disagreed, is when you said that one means compound one. That's where I'm like, there's the disagreement, and that's you could say the argument I'm bringing is that one doesn't mean compound one. One, you can only see it as a compound when the sentence would imply that there's like a joining of something. That's why I quoted Genesis 2:24, because it said that they became one, and that's the only reason you could say that one is compound. But the word one means one, and you cannot use it as to say it's a compound unit. And again, 1 second. When I spoke with Avery, is your name right, Avery?
Yeah.
When I spoke with Avery, I was agreeing with him because he wasn't saying that this is a proof of Trinity. He wasn't saying it, like, from my understanding, you weren't saying that this means compound. You were saying that this doesn't prove Trinity, neither does it disprove it, because you have a preconceived notion that God could be a compound. Same as if we say there is one car, that car could have 4 wheels, and we could say that one is a compound because it has multiple part of it. And so that's why I was saying I agree with you. If you're saying that the sentence doesn't prove it, neither does it disprove it. But if you, from my understanding, when I watched the video, the short, it was like you were saying that sentence proves the Trinity, and that's why I came here to say no, it doesn't.
Muhammad,
Just a second here, guys. Hey, God logic. When we're reading Deuteronomy 6:4, would we already have read Genesis chapter 18 and Genesis chapter 19?
That's correct.
That's why.
Arnie, you're stealing my
how
No,
I
point.
agree with
just
you.
a second. There's Muhammad. So, Mr. God Logic, what happens in Genesis 18 and 19 to give us more indication of what Moses is speaking about in Deuteronomy 6:4?
You have Yahweh who's on earth and Yahweh who is on heaven, both interacting together, bringing judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah.
Are you talking about multiple Yahwehs?
That's correct.
Wow. So what we're trying to say here, Muhammad, is if we read the Bible like Genesis, we can even just read the book of Genesis. We go to Genesis 32. We could go to Genesis 18 and 19. There's many different places that we could go to within the book of Genesis to show that God has described himself
Totally fine.
as having a plurality in his unity.
Again,
Of
that's
course.
fine.
So when we get to the word echad in Deuteronomy 6:4, we already know God
I
has
don't disagree with you.
described himself as a plural unity, of course, right?
Yes.
That's why we understand the word echad is
I get it.
the plural unity.
That's why, again, I said I didn't disagree with Avery because you had a preconceived notion. That's why I'm agreeing. Like I don't think you understand that I agree with you. I'm not saying that like you guys are wrong for saying that. Like if you have a preconceived notions from previous chapters, then it's fine. But that doesn't prove Trinity, and that doesn't disprove it. That's what I was trying to say.
And also, Muhammad, you do realize in Islam, Ehad has the same meaning as Ahad has the same meaning as Ehad. You do know that, right? Like in terms of like Arabic and how it works.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So, right. Exactly. So when you quoted Surah 112, verse 1, where it says "Kul huwa Allahu ahad,"
I did.
right. So when it says that, that means that Allah is saying that He's one in multiplicity, like He's multi-personal in nature.
No.
What
According
do you
to
mean,
no, I'm not saying that because no, I'm
no?
not saying.
So
When did I say
hold
that?
on, wait. So why wouldn't the verse be read "Kul huwa Allahu al-Wahid"?
Because
Ahad
one
and
means
Wahid
one.
don't mean the same thing.
Because one means one, and we don't have a preconceived notion of it being a trinity.
Hold
No,
on, really
one
quick.
is simple
Hold on,
unity, and the other is
hold on a
yeah.
second. Hold on. Keep that thought. Do not lose that thought, you guys. But we have almost 300 people watching right now, and we only have about 150 likes. Like, what is this?
Whoa. Wait, can you go through that ratio just one more time for me, Mr. God Logic?
We have almost 300 people watching and only 150 likes on the video.
So out of these 300 people, we got 150 stone lickers in that chat.
That's
Come on
correct.
now, if you don't hit that like button, we know that you secretly kissed that black stone.
Come on, guys. Hey, show some support. You guys are enjoying this conversation. We got, our friend Muhammad on the stage with us, who's having an awesome conversation, good decorum and things of this nature. One of the best guests we've had in a long time. Hit that like button. It only takes 2 seconds. It really helps out the video and the algorithm, guys. So please, everybody who's watching, even if you're a non-believer, you're enjoying this conversation, this is for you. Hit that like button. Let's get the likes up to 300. Thank you. We're at 200 now. So let's get to 300.
I just want to apologize to Muhammad because it was a little rude of me calling people stone kissers in the chat. But it's just a way of me joking around with the people in the chat. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to you because you have been respectful on the stage.
Exactly. That's why I was concerned because I've been respectful, so I don't see why. But whatever. Let's just move on.
No, it's just a joke. I say it every week here on the channel.
It's okay. Whatever. It's okay.
All right, so there we go. We're getting it up. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We're almost at 2:30. Come on, guys. Let's get it up. Amen Podcast, please continue with what you were saying.
Yeah, sure. I'll only be able to stay on for maybe about 10 or 15 minutes. When I saw the stream, I was in the middle of doing something, but I wanted to come up and have a conversation with you, Muhammad, because I think you're pretty genuine here, and even though you may disagree with us, I'm hoping you're able to understand the points that we're making.
I do. I actually do.
right.
I understand what you're saying.
Right. So okay. So you said that you understand why what we're saying, echad, how it can be multi-personal in nature, a compound unity. In the Quran, in the Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Ayah 1, it says "Kul huwa Allahu ahad," right? So
Okay.
that word comes from echad. So you agreed with us when we said echad means like a complex compound unity.
No, if you
I
say that, then you didn't understand what I was saying, because what I was saying.
just hold on, wait, just let me
Okay,
finish. I'm
sorry.
almost done, I promise. So, for instance, in that verse, if you look at Asbab al-Nuzul al-Wahidi, he talks about how Muhammad is speaking to the Jews, and the Jews say that our God is described in the Torah, and they're basically quoting from Deuteronomy 6:4, where the word echad is being used. So Muhammad says, oh, my God is one as well. So that's what Asbab al-Nuzul means, the reason for revelation. That's why that verse was revealed. The reason why we know that ahad means compound unity is because nowhere else in the Quran do we have that word meaning one singular. Because even within the same chapter, and this is the point, this is my challenge for you, Muhammad. Even in the same chapter, if you go down to verse 12, it says, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, right? It says that like nobody is like him, right?
Right.
And it uses the word ahad as a compound unity. No one, not any one of you, is like Allah, right? If ahad, this is the argument. If ahad does not mean compound unity or one of, then why in every other verse in the Quran do we have, when it's being used, one of, like none of you or one of you, ahad is being used in place where that's concerned? If that's true, then in Surah 1, ahad can't be used, because that means if Allah is one in number or singularity, single unity, wahid should be used. Ahad and wahid don't mean the same thing. Can you explain
Okay.
to me why in the same chapter those
Well,
two
first
words are
I'll
being
ask
used
the
as different
question:
things?
is
Sure.
why are you still saying that? Because you said, because I see this as some type of hypocrisy, not in the the negative sense, in the sense that earlier you said, I come here with a preconceived notion that it's one, and that's why I'm saying it's one. And I said I agree with you, same as how you guys have a preconceived notion that it's a trinity, and that's why you say it's a compound. So how can you go to Surat al-Ikhlas and tell me that ahad means a compound, and not understand that that's from your preconceived notion?
It's not. I'm actually getting that from the Quran. Can you find? And okay, so this is my challenge to
No,
you,
you
bro.
didn't. Can you answer?
Hold on, wait. Yes, I'm answering you.
Okay.
My challenge to you is, this is what I asked you. It's not a preconceived notion. I'm actually getting this from your Quran. I'm not a Muslim. I'm just reading the text. Can you find me one verse in the Quran where ahad is being used in place of wahid? Tafadil, Habibi.
Okay. And again, that still doesn't remove the fact that why are you saying that it means compound? Because that's from your preconceived notion of what.
No, bro. Okay, listen.
His point
Islam.
is that everywhere you find this word used, every single time it is always a compound unity, and so it would actually be it'll be off to all of a sudden think that it's not being used as a compound unity. All of a sudden,
Okay. So can you
every
say?
single time it's a compound unity.
Okay, can you show me those every single time is a compound unity?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to go through every verse, but I can give you one in the same chapter.
Sure.
So can you go down to verse 4?
Because again, one second, just before you do that, again, when you say ahad, if you know something has, for example, a family, you know that's a preconceived notion that a family is multiple people, then it would mean a compound. But if you say one day or one car, one pencil, then it's one as in one. You cannot apply it and say universally ahad means compound. That'd just be false.
No. Okay. So according to your Quran, it does. So okay.
Yeah.
So for instance, I'll give you two verses, right? The one in the same chapter, bro. The same chapter in ayah 4. Walam yakun lahu kufuwan ahadun. There is none equivalent to Allah. I'll give you one more if you want. There's a section in Nas Qur'ani Ali Imran. Chapter 3, verse 73, right? There's a section there where it's like, do not expect any one of you or someone, right, to come with something other than what's been given to you. It says in yuti ahadin mithlima utitum, right? Like, don't expect someone or any one of you, right, to come with something else. Even in regular Arabic, like if you're speaking
Can I cut you
Azri or
one
something like that, you would never, like, that's how you would say, like no one on stage speaks Arabic. Like, you use ahad for that. You wouldn't use wahid.
Okay, again, you're like, I'm saying something and you're not addressing it. Like, in what sense can you say that ahad means a compound? Again, like I've been trying to explain that it would mean compound if you're talking about a family, because we know that a family is multiple people. But if you're saying there's one pencil or one day I'm going to do something, it means one. I keep saying this and you're just not, like, you're either not
Right. Okay.
understanding it or
So,
ignoring it.
well, no, I'm not ignoring it. I'm actually I'm asking you a question that you're not answering.
Because
So, for instance,
this is
hold on a second. You actually just proved my point. If you're saying ahad means some kind of compound, like a family or something like that, or like how the Quran describes it, one of
no, that's
many.
where you just made the mistake, is how the Quran
Okay.
describes. If you say,
Okay. Can
example,
you show me a verse where it doesn't mean that? What
okay,
was the question I asked you?
okay, again, like that's what I was trying to say with God logic. And Avery, just if you disagree with me, tell me, like, so I can correct it. If you go to 224, Genesis 224, it says, for example, join together, and that's how we can say that ahad, that thing of that oneness thing, is a compound because it's joined together. Example, if you have a preconceived notion that there is a Trinity and you say God as in one, you can say that one would mean a compound. Okay, sure, but how can you go and apply that into the Quran? That's what I don't understand.
So he's saying that whenever ahad is used, and I have it on the screen every time it's used in the Quran, every time it's used in the Quran, every single time, it never means a singular one. It's never used like that, ever.
Okay,
It always means one of, always. That's the point. So Numan Ali Khan, he was, you know who that is? Numan Ali Khan, have you heard of him?
No.
Okay, well, he was doing a talk on this. He's a Muslim research. He does a talk on this, and he talks about how ahad is actually the wrong word to be used there. It's the wrong word. It should be wahid if you're talking about Allah, not ahad. That's wrong. Because
okay,
ahad means one of.
I have a question. If you say that it doesn't mean one, why do I see a bunch of one, like, in the screen?
When you go in, like, for example, we see here 9:127. Watch.
Sure. Okay.
The 12th. Where's the verse? I should quote the verse. And wherever a surah is revealed, they look at each other, saying, "Does anyone see you?" That's where the word is being used. Ahad. Anyone. Does anyone see you? And then they dismiss themselves. Allah has dismissed their hearts because they are a people who do not understand. So
yeah,
even there,
very relevant surah.
It's a compound one.
No,
Okay.
Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Hold on. If you're saying that it's an irrelevant surah,
no. I was just saying it's relevant surah because of what it says.
Okay.
I'm
You said
sorry,
relevant.
Relevant. I was just joking because it says they have. Okay, whatever. It was just making a joke. My point is, anyone. So you're saying basically anyone. Okay, just to explain, because it says Allah dismissed their heart because they are people who do not understand. That's why I was just saying it's relevant. Whatever. That doesn't mean anything.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Anyways,
that's fine.
sorry. If you have does anyone, you're saying basically anyone would mean something that, like, that's not one. It doesn't mean unity.
Yeah, anyone is talking about anyone. It's a plurality. It's a group. Yeah.
One of you, right?
Yeah.
So not any.
I don't understand. I actually don't. When you say one of you, it's still one of you.
Okay,
bro,
dude.
I think you understand.
What is anyone? Is any when you say is there anyone? Is there anyone like God? For example, you say something like that. Is there anyone like God? Are you talking?
Syntactically, it means one.
Huh?
Syntactically, it means one. Is there one like God?
One in what though? One in as a part of a group, right? Is there anyone? Meaning, is there anyone that exists?
That's absolutely irrelevant that it's one in a group.
Muhammad.
Syntactically,
it's one of, man. Is there any one of you? Is there one of you that's like God? That's
one.
Muhammad, it's in the same chapter. We don't even have to go out of Surah 112.
I could just be like not understanding what you guys are trying to say, but if you're saying
let me explain this
it's
one more
still
time.
one.
Because I gotta go in a minute. Let me just explain this one more time. In Surah 112, the same chapter that you brought up to say that Allah is one, if you go down to verse 4, it uses the same word ahad to say that there is no one that is like Allah. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا ahadun. There
Okay.
is no one. So there is not any amongst you, no one that is
Okay.
like God. That refers to a group of people trying to compare themselves to Allah. No one can do it. That's what the verse is saying. So when we're telling you the only place where ahad is being used to describe Allah in his singularity is verse 1, is chapter 112, verse 1. And I'm explaining to you the reason why. Asbab al-Nuzul by al-Wahidi, the reason for revelation, he says the reason why this verse was revealed was because Muhammad was talking to the Jews as they quote the Shema, where they say, oh yeah, like our God is described in the Torah. And then they ask Muhammad, what is your God like? And he hears them and he's like, oh yeah, well, Kul huwallahu ahad. My God is one as well. Aidan. My God is like, he's likewise. He's one, right? So he's listening to the Jews and they say ehad to describe the oneness of their God. So Muhammad says, oh yeah, like I want to be like, and this isn't an insult, bro. I promise you. I'm not trying to insult
No,
you,
I get
but
it.
this is, I mean, just
My God as well is
inductive
one.
reasoning. Right, exactly. So they hear the Jews describe their God as being Echad, but he doesn't understand what Echad means. This
How
is
can you
why
say
the
that he
only,
doesn't understand what echad means?
because when we go in the Torah and we see every instance of the word Echad being used, like the ones we gave you, Genesis 2:24, Genesis 11, Judges 20, verse 8,
Wait, can
Judges
you give me
20,
those
verse
again
8.
so I can look them up?
Yeah, sure. So Genesis 2:24,
Yeah, we've
when
been
it
through that.
talks about the man and the woman become one flesh.
Yes.
Genesis 11, guys, I don't know if you remember the exact verse when it says that the people like were one or something like that. When it says God came down, let us distort their language or whatever, and he uses the word echad there. But there's another one, Judges 20, verse 8. If you
Say
go to
that thing again.
Judges, so go to Judges 20, verse 8.
28.
Yeah, Avery, can you put that on the screen and pull up the Hebrew?
Nope.
My man Amen's getting right into the Hebrew, people.
Judges 28.
Yeah, 20 verse 8. And if you want to read it from the English on your side, and we're
Then
going to
all
look
the
at it
people
in
stood
Hebrew.
as one man and said, not one of us will return to his tent or to this outside.
Exactly. So Avery,
Okay.
when he pulls up the
And
Hebrew here,
this is a proof. Wait, sorry. I'm going to cut you there because this is exact, like that's the point I'm trying to make. If you go on that verse, it says, then all the people stood as one. You click on one, it's echad. Okay, now we go back. And not one of us. One, it's echad. It's, no, sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. If you go on one, not one. Well, this one doesn't. Okay, so the actual echad mean here means one, and it was saying one man. So I don't understand your point. You're saying that one means one. I'm saying one means one as well.
so
No,
notice what the context says. It says the people gathered as one man. So how many? So there's a large group
Oh,
of
okay.
people.
I did. Okay, no, I see. Okay, I didn't read it
Yeah.
well.
So right. So there's a large group of people coming against. Sorry.
No, I agree with you in here
yeah.
that one man would be like one man, but as in a plurality. I completely agree with you.
Okay, so exactly. So listen to me. Just listen for a second. Honestly, this isn't a gotcha moment, bro. Like, honestly, this isn't one of those kind of
I'm listening.
situations. So when Muhammad, if you're reading that's bad on Nuzul, just look it up whenever you get a chance. Because again, I'm not gonna be able to stay for long. When you read it and you hear him talking to the Jews, and the Jews say, "Our God is described in the Torah." Deuteronomy 6:4, that's exactly what they're talking about. And he says that our God is one. And he says, well, my God is one as well, blah, blah, blah. And what's described in Deuteronomy 6:4 is echad, this multi-personal one instead of yahid.
Okay.
Right. So Arabic is a sister language of Hebrew. This is why the word
Yes.
there is ahad. So when Muhammad uses that to describe Allah, he doesn't understand fully what the word means and its implication. Because if he wanted to say that Allah is one in number as a Unitarian God, then he would say, Kul huwallahu al-wahid. Say that Allah is the one.
Al-Wahid would mean the one.
Exactly. That's what I just
Exactly.
said. He wouldn't say Ahad.
I don't see the difference
because
between saying God is one and saying God is the one. Can you explain that?
the difference is Wahed would be used in terms of number to describe the nature of God being one,
Okay.
Unitarian God. Ahad would be used to describe a multi-personal or a multi-plural situation.
Okay,
Because
I
nowhere
think that's a
else.
contradiction. Okay, and if you don't agree, just tell me why. Because early Avery was saying that it means one as in one being, and he was saying this doesn't prove the Trinity. So this has nothing to do with the Trinity, just that
no,
God
that's
is
not
one
what he
being.
said, bro.
No, that's not what I said, dude.
Okay, so go ahead.
My thing, this is what I'll say it again. The Muslim quoted the Shema or quoted Jesus when he quoted the Shema saying, see, it says God is one here. Him saying he's absolutely singular.
No, okay, that's not what I'm
That's
saying.
what
That's not
he
what I'm
was
saying.
saying. I'm saying no, this verse
Avery.
doesn't say
I
that.
know. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Hey,
saying that you're saying it was one being, but what does that actual being
Muhammad.
mean is not described here.
Okay, so Muhammad, I'm gonna
No,
have to go in a
wait.
minute.
Avery, do you not understand?
Hold on, wait. Just wait a second. I'm telling you that I have to leave. Gotta take
Yes,
care of something. I just wanted to hop on, man, and just talk to you for a bit and try
I
to
appreciate that.
explain what I meant instead of burning through my money sending every super chats. God bless you, bro. But hey, man, it was so nice talking to you, man. Honestly, if you come on again, or if you come on my channel, because I do lives, I'm trying to do one at least once a week. If you come on my channel, bro, or if you come in the chat, let me know that you want to come up and talk to me. We can talk about whatever you want. We can finish this conversation some more. But thanks for being so charitable, talking to us and being level-headed and just listening to us. I really appreciate it. God bless,
No
guys.
problem.
Take care of the podcast.